Have you ever stopped to think that while most people see trains as just transportation, there are machines out there on rails that push the limits of engineering size and even imagination? Some of these locomotives are so absurdly massive they look more like industrial spacecraft than anything meant for Earth. Now picture a train weighing over 660,000 pounds, hauling hundreds of freight cars through deserts, mountains, or even frozen tundras, all without losing power or stability. Do you have any idea what the largest locomotive ever built was? Or which model required reinforced tracks just to support its weight? These machines exist, and they're not fiction. They're real-life colossi on rails built during moments in history when the world demanded unmatched strength, resilience, and innovation. Ready to take a journey through the most monstrous locomotives ever built by mankind? Stick with me until the end, because the final one on this list is so big and so old. Chances are you weren't even born when it hit the rails. South African Railways Class 25, released in 1953. The Class 25 steam locomotive from South African Railways represents one of the last and most impressive roars of the steam era. Built through a joint effort between the North British Locomotive Company and Henschel & Son, this giant was designed to conquer the harsh arid regions of South Africa, particularly the scorching Karoo Desert, where heat and water scarcity tested any machine's limits. That's exactly what set the Class 25 apart. Unlike most steam locomotives of the time, which consumed vast amounts of water, the Class 25 featured a condensing steam system. It recycled the steam it produced, turning it back into water and feeding it back into the boiler. That gave it the ability to run nearly 600 miles without refueling, an incredible feat for any steam engine. It measured about 112 feet in length, including its massive tender, and weighed close to 460,000 pounds. The size was no accident. It was made to house the added pipework, the condenser units, a reinforced boiler, and massive coal and water reserves. Visually, it looked futuristic for its time. The tender was sleek, streamlined, and looked more like a passenger coach than a traditional support car. Its steam engine operated at internal pressures 20 times higher than atmospheric pressure at sea level, generating the kind of power needed to haul heavy freight through brutal heat and long stretches of barren land. The 484 wheel arrangement gave it both power and flexibility, allowing it to handle rough terrain and curves with surprising ease. For years, the Class 25 was the pride of South Africa's freight and passenger lines. Even after diesel and electric locomotives took over, many of these giants remained in service into the 1980s. Several units were even converted into the Class 25 NC variant, removing the condensing gear for use in regions where water was more accessible. Today, you can still find a few preserved in museums and used on tourist routes. The deep hiss of the boiler, the sharp whistles slicing through the dry air, and the soft release of recycled steam from the top created an unforgettable presence. And that's just the beginning. The next locomotive may not have the mystique of steam, but it brings cutting-edge hybrid tech that will surprise even the most seasoned rail fan. Siemens Vectron Dual Mode XL. Officially launched in 2020, the Siemens Vectron Dual Mode XL is changing the way Europe looks at modern rail transport. Built in Germany, this machine was designed to be versatile, able to run on both electrified tracks and traditional non-electrified lines, while doing so with as little environmental impact as possible. The result is a hybrid beast that combines the best of both worlds. Electric and high-efficiency diesel propulsion, measuring a staggering 92 furlong long and weighing about 270,000 pounds. This locomotive was engineered to haul medium to heavy freight over long distances without needing a locomotive swap when switching between power systems. Its extended size is entirely justified. It houses two complete propulsion systems. One side packs a modern high-performance diesel engine. The other holds the converters and transformers needed to draw power from overhead electric lines. Its 16-cylinder V engine delivers 200 horsepower, which on its own is impressive. But the real magic is in the automatic switching. Once it enters an electrified segment, the diesel engine shuts down and the electric system quietly takes over. The transition is so smooth the engineer barely notices. Inside the cab, everything is digital. Real-time system readouts, speed automation, and regenerative braking systems that feed energy back into the grid when slowing down. Visually, the Vectron stands out with sleek metallic paint schemes, LED headlights, and a futuristic body that slices through fog and snow. And in terms of sound, it offers two personalities. On diesel, it has a deep, rich growl. In electric mode, it glides almost silently. Ideal for urban areas and residential zones. It's currently operating in Germany, Austria, Sweden, and Hungary, primarily used for long-haul cross-border freight operations. The flexibility it offers has led to widespread adoption by logistics operators looking to reduce costs and improve efficiency. And fun fact, despite being new to the market, model train enthusiasts are already replicating the Vectron with extreme detail in HO scale and beyond. That's the level of admiration it's gained in just a few years. Think 200 horsepower is a lot. The next locomotive comes from the United States and puts out double that with raw diesel force and a chassis that looks like a mobile fortress on rails. GX 6000 CW. In the mid-1990s, as American railroads demanded more power, more efficiency, and more durability, General Electric answered the call with something that looked over the top even by U.S. standards. Enter the GX 6000 CW, introduced in 1995. For a time, it held the title of the most powerful diesel-electric locomotive in commercial production worldwide. A true steel giant of engineering. At 75 feet long and weighing roughly 432,000 pounds, this machine had one mission: to pull extremely heavy freight across long distances. It was especially suited for coal and ore corridors in the US and Canada, and the name says it all: AC for alternating current traction, and 6,000 for its mind-blowing 6,000 horsepower output. That kind of muscle came from a custom-built V16 engine displacing over 7,000, which powered electric traction motors capable of hauling over 100 loaded rail cars. The locomotive's raw force was so great that during testing, some companies had to reinforce their tracks. The engine used GE's 7HDL16 was specially developed for this model and marked a significant evolution in AC traction, which eventually became the industry standard for high horsepower locomotives. Visually, the AC 6000 CW was aggressive. Bold paint schemes in yellow, red, and blue, depending on the railroad, combined with a square, muscular design and reinforced cab that offered extra safety and comfort for crews. The sound of it at full throttle, like a rolling thunderstorm, deep, continuous, and impossible to ignore. Rail giants like Union Pacific and CSX were among its biggest users. But interestingly, the AC 6000 CW didn't remain in production for long. Why high maintenance costs, fuel consumption, and the complexity of its systems led to its gradual replacement by more efficient, slightly less powerful models. Still, several units remain in operation today, especially on heavy-duty routes or preserved by collectors. For a while, rail fans nicknamed it the land barge due to its sheer size and stable performance under extreme loads, a nickname that fits like a glove. But if you think this is extreme, the next steam locomotive had even more wheels, even more torque, and tackled mountain grades so steep that it remains one of the most powerful steam engines ever built. Allegheny H8. Imagine a locomotive so powerful it was built to conquer the steepest grades in the Appalachian Mountains, pulling hundreds of tons of coal through kite curves, wet tracks, and relentless terrain. That was the mission of the Allegheny H8. Built in 1941 by the Lima Locomotive Works for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, also known as the legendary CNO, this monster stretched an impressive 125 feet in length and weighed over 1 million pounds when fully loaded. Designed it as an articulated steam locomotive with a 20-ton 6/6 wheel configuration, it had two sets of 6 driving wheels, each separated by guiding wheels at the front and rear. This setup allowed it to tackle sharp curves while still delivering brute force despite its size that seemed almost too large for any track. Its massive boiler operated with internal pressure, 20 times greater than atmospheric pressure, producing enough steam to unleash a staggering 7,500 horsepower. That kind of strength allowed the H8 to haul trains up mountainous grades without the need for helper engines. Something nearly unheard of for the time. It was capable of pulling up to 160 loaded freight cars even on sharp inclines. But performance was just part of its appeal. The Allegheny was also a visual and auditory spectacle. The piercing whistle echoing through the foggy hills, the towering plumes of steam, and the rhythmic pounding of its massive wheels created a scene straight out of a movie. It didn't just move freight, it commanded attention. Despite its success, the age of steam was nearing its end. By the 1950s, diesel-electric locomotives began replacing these giants. Many Allegheny units were retired well before reaching 20 years of service. Today, only two survive. One is preserved at the Henry Ford Museum in Michigan, where it still stuns visitors with its sheer size and beauty. And if you thought that was a crazy piece of machinery, just wait. The next one comes from the other side of the world. It's modern, it's diesel-electric, and it was built to move people across vast distances at impressive speeds with two engines permanently coupled together. China DF11G. When it comes to transportation, China thinks big. Whether it's cargo distance or speed, everything is built on a massive scale, and that includes locomotives. Launched in 2004 by Kishuan Locomotive Works, the DF11G is a twin-unit diesel-electric locomotive designed specifically for long distance and passenger operations in regions where electrified rail was still not available. Together, the two permanently connected units measure 144 feet in total length and weigh about 68,000 kilograms. Each unit houses a V16 diesel engine, combining for more than 6,400 horsepower. The goal behind the DF11G was simple: haul massive passenger trains with unmatched stability, speed, and autonomy across China's vast network. Its enormous size wasn't just about packing more power. Engineers extended the frame to improve weight distribution and traction, which is especially critical at high speeds. And high speed is where this locomotive shines. It regularly reaches speeds over 100 miles an hour, making it one of the fastest diesel-powered locomotives ever built for passenger service. From the outside, the DF11G is bold and aerodynamic. Its wedge-shaped nose, dual headlights, and sleek profile allow it to cut through the air with minimal resistance. Its engine produces a deep, rumbling tone that you can feel in your chest long before the train arrives. That combination of sight and sound made it a fan favorite almost instantly. Today, the DF11G still runs long distance routes between China's largest cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Harbin. Even with the rise of high-speed electric rail, this workhorse continues to serve vital connections in more remote or partially electrified regions. One more thing, the DF11G proved so reliable and efficient that it inspired newer generations of diesel locomotives throughout China. It set a new benchmark for what a modern long-haul passenger locomotive could do. Liking this trip through the world's most gigantic locomotives? Then go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the next machine on this list was built to conquer the Arctic, hauling iron ore through the snow and ice like it was nothing. Bombardier I, unveiled in 2000 by Bombardier Transportation, the IORE is one of the toughest and most powerful locomotives in active service today. Designed specifically to endure the brutal extremes of Northern Europe, the IORE operates on the Malmben and Irnor line between Kiruna, Sweden and Narvik, Norway. Along this frozen route, snow ice and sub-zero temperatures are the norm, not the exception. The I consists of two permanently coupled units, giving it a massive total length of 154 feet and a weight of around 794,000 kg. That oversized frame serves a clear purpose to ensure traction power and perfect weight distribution, even on steep grades and icy tracks. Each unit features 6 powered axles for a total of 12, maximizing grip and performance, even in the most hostile conditions. Its electric motors produce an eye-watering 10,800 horsepower, all powered by renewable hydroelectric energy from local sources. That makes the I not just powerful, but also environmentally clean. A perfect match for the sustainability goals of modern Scandinavian rail systems. Visually, the IU is hard to miss. With its bright red livery, muscular profile, and powerful LED headlights, it cuts a striking figure against the white backdrop of Arctic snow. And when it moves, the combination of electric hum and metal on ice creates a soundtrack unlike anything else on rails. What's more impressive, an I unit typically travels over 5 million miles during its lifespan without major issues, equivalent to circling the Earth 100 times. Each full const can haul up to 8,000 metric tons of iron ore in a single trip. It's not just a locomotive, it's a critical part of the Scandinavian mining industry. The name I comes from iron ore, but the model quickly gained international fame under that name. Engineers and rail fans alike admire its durability, efficiency, and flawless performance in the most demanding conditions imaginable. And for those who think electric locomotives lack soul, just watch an IE slice through the silent, snow-covered wilderness of Lapland. You'll change your mind. Now let's travel back in time. The next locomotive is long, sleek, elegant, and so far ahead of its time that it looked more like a moving sculpture than a train. And here's the twist, only one was ever built. PRR S1. The big engine unveiled to the public in 1939, the PRR S1, famously known as the Big Engine, was one of the most ambitious, eccentric, and visually striking locomotives ever to operate on American rails. Built by the Pennsylvania Railroad, it was designed as an all-in-one marvel. Speed, power, and futuristic design rolled into a single massive machine. And yes, it delivered, but at a cost. Stretching an astounding 140 feet and weighing over 575,000 pounds, the S1 held the title of the longest and heaviest passenger steam locomotive ever built in the United States. The size was so extreme that it couldn't negotiate tight curves on many of the PRR's tracks. It ran best on long straight lines, but struggled in yards or twisty routes, limiting its overall usefulness. Under the hood, it was just as extreme. The boiler operated at 20 times atmospheric pressure, feeding a set of pistons connected to a unique 6-4-4-6 wheel arrangement, one of the rarest steam configurations ever built. With a rated power output of around 6,500 horsepower, the S1 was capable of reaching speeds over 100 mph, making it one of the fastest steam locomotives of its time. But what truly turned heads was its appearance. The S1 didn't look like a steam engine. It looked like something from the future. Industrial designer Raymond Loewy, the man behind the iconic designs of the Coca-Cola bottle and the Greyhound scenic cruiser bus, was brought in to give the S1 a streamlined Art Deco look. Curved metal skirting, a low-profile nose, and polished finishes made it the centerpiece of the 1939 New York World's Fair, where it was hailed as the train of tomorrow. Unfortunately, the future came with problems. Only one S1 was ever built. Its massive size made it difficult to maintain and operate, and its long, rigid frame simply wasn't practical for most of the rail network. It was officially retired in 1946 and eventually scrapped, but its legacy lives on. To this day, the PRR S1 remains a cult favorite among train historians, modelers, and rail fans alike. Its influence can be seen in everything from mid-century streamliners to die-cast toy trains. It may have failed as a production locomotive, but as a design icon, it's unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable, the next locomotive didn't just push the limits. It blew past them with 20 wheels and a frame so long, it was almost impossible to turn. Soviet AA-20-1. When it comes to ambitious, oversized engineering, few nations went bigger than the Soviet Union. And in 1934, that ambition gave birth to the AA-21, one of the most extreme steam locomotives ever constructed. Its goal be the largest, most powerful steam engine in the world, regardless of cost, practicality, or maintenance. And large it was. The AA-21 stretched 135 feet in length and weighed around 550,000 pounds. But the most mind-blowing detail, it featured an unprecedented 14-to-4-wheel configuration. That's 20 driving wheels, more than any other steam locomotive in history. The logic behind the madness was to distribute weight across more axles to reduce track wear and increase tractive effort for heavy freight hauls. Its boiler operated at 20 times atmospheric pressure, driving a massive system that delivered around 200 horsepower. While not as powerful on paper as some American locomotives, the engineering complexity of the AA-21 was staggering. It was a one-of-a-kind experimental machine, and Soviet engineers built it purely to show that they could. But here's the reality. It was impractical from day one. The locomotive couldn't handle curves, required special tracks, and was nearly impossible to maintain. It had difficulty operating even under ideal conditions. Eventually, the project was abandoned, and only one Miani AA-21 was ever built. Today, that lone unit survives as a museum piece in the Russian Railway Museum in St. Petersburg, where it stands as a symbol of both Soviet engineering ambition and overreach. People from around the world visit just to see it in person, drawn by its size, complexity, and mythic reputation. Despite never entering full service, the AA-21 remains a legend of excess, built in a time when bigger was considered better no matter the consequences. Now brace yourself. The next machine wasn't experimental. It was real reliable and built to celebrate 100 years of American railroading with more horsepower than any diesel locomotive had ever seen. EMD DDA40X Centennial. In 1969, the Union Pacific Railroad turned 100 years old, and instead of just throwing a party, they decided to make history with a diesel-electric locomotive, unlike anything the world had ever seen. That locomotive was the EMD DDA40X, better known as the Centennial, and to this day it holds the record as the most powerful diesel-electric locomotive ever built. Designed and manufactured by the Electromotive Division of General Motors, the Centennial stretched 98 feet in length and kept the scales at around 600,000 pounds. But what made it truly monstrous was what sat inside. Two separate V16 diesel engines, each pumping out three 300 horsepower for a combined output of 600 horsepower. That kind of power meant the Centennial could pull over 150 loaded freight cars that on its own across some of the most punishing terrain in the American West. The idea was simple: replace two standard locomotives with one. Less maintenance, more efficiency, and better fuel economy over long distances. It was a bold solution for a railroad known for hauling some of the heaviest loads in the world. With 8 powered axles, it had excellent traction for steep grades and long, uninterrupted runs. And the dual cab setup made it more comfortable for long-haul crews, with advanced for-the-time instrumentation and more space for tours and teams. Its sound, imagine two diesel engines roaring in sync, a deep guttural growl that you could feel through the ground before you ever saw the train. When a Centennial passed by, you didn't just watch it, you experienced it. Union Pacific ordered 47 units, and although most were retired by the 1980s due to the complexity of their systems and high operating costs, several have been preserved. One standout example is on a display at the Union Pacific Railroad Museum in Omaha, Nebraska, where it remains a fan favorite. The name Centennial was chosen to honor a century of westward rail expansion, and the locomotive lived up to the legacy. It wasn't just a celebration, it was a milestone in diesel-electric innovation. Still think that's impressive? Just wait for number one. It's not just the most powerful steam locomotive in history, it might also be the most famous. Union Pacific Big Boy. We've reached the top of the list, and here there's no debate. The Union Pacific Big Boy is, to this day, the most iconic, most powerful, and most respected steam locomotive in the history of railroading. Built between 1941 and 1944 by the American Locomotive Company, Alco, the Big Boy wasn't just created to move freight. It was designed to conquer mountains, challenge the limits of engineering, and become a living legend. Measuring an incredible 132 feet long and weighing over 1.22 million pounds when fully loaded with its tender. The Big Boy was engineered specifically to handle the Rocky Mountains, particularly the tough grades of Sherman Hill between Wyoming and Utah. And here's the kicker. It was designed to do it without the help of additional locomotives, a cost-saving and efficiency-driven goal set by Union Pacific at the time. The Big Boy steam system operated at internal pressures 20 times higher than sea-level air pressure, generating up to 300 horsepower. It used a 484-wheel configuration, meaning it had two sets of 8 driving wheels in an articulated frame, plus leading and trailing wheels for guidance. This gave it the flexibility to handle curves better than its size would suggest. A crucial feature in the mountain terrain it was built for. Speed. Despite its massive weight, the Big Boy could hit speeds of over 80 mph, which is astounding for a steam engine of its size hauling heavy loads up steep inclines. That kind of performance made it a logistical dream for Union Pacific throughout the 1940s and 50s. Only 25 Big Boys were ever built, numbered 4000 to 4024. And here's a fun bit of trivia. The name Big Boy came from a factory worker who chalked it onto the side of the first completed unit. The nickname stuck, and today it's known worldwide. The most remarkable part: in 2019, Union Pacific restored Big Boy number 44 to full operational condition, making it the largest steam locomotive in the world still running today. It now tours across the United States, drawing massive crowds of photographers, railroad enthusiasts, and families who gather just to see. And here at Thunder Pass, when a Big Boy rolls by, the ground shakes. Steam clouds fill the sky. The metallic clatter of massive wheels blends with the shriek of its whistle, transporting you straight back to the golden age of steam. It's not just a machine, its living history roaring down the rails. There may never be another locomotive like it. These aren't just machines. They're symbols of eras of technological revolutions of human ambition and perseverance. Some crossed deserts. Others climbed snow-covered mountains. A few ran non-stop for decades. But all of them left their mark on the world's railways. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these giants blew your mind? Was it the legendary Big Boy? Or the Soviet-ish AA-20 with 20 driving wheels? Which one would you love to see or even drive in real life? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you're into content like this, be sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because every week we bring you the most incredible machines ever built across snow, steam, steel, and time. Thanks for riding with us. See you in the next video.